Like right now, bro, I'm like a E rank streamer. Unfortunately, okay? In terms of real life solo leveling, okay? Streaming. Nah, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. But let's be real. Let's be real, dog. I am not a C rank. I'm not a C rank streamer. Okay? If I was a C rank streamer, I would at least be pulling like double digits. Solo Leveling Season 2, Episode 4, Cut Content. Sung Jin Woo's rank E.
You stupid.
Or, sorry, rank re-evaluation. Technically, yeah, he's still E rank, so I didn't really fuck that up. This is by AniNews. If you haven't checked out any of their content, subscribe, and I'm gonna go ahead and like because I know I'm gonna forget.
It's good to see the fan service goes both ways in Solo Leveling. We're still going through the story pretty fast though, so for a dialogue-heavy episode such as this, I'm sure you can already imagine all the little interactions that were left out. Minor things like Chairman Go's desire for a successor, all the way to the introduction of Korea's former strongest guild known as the Reapers. Sung's reevaluation was definitely the focal point, but amongst that was a lot of lore behind hunters, guilds, and the relationship between them. So if you want to see that and everything else the anime left out,
when is GTA 6 coming out? Bro, sometime this year. It's definitely gonna probably be like November or fall. So if you already got a PS5, so you're good.
here's all the differences between that, the manhwa, and the novel. But first, this video is sponsored by Enigma of Sepia, an upcoming brand.
I ain't gonna snipe this ad.
RPG featuring lots of waifus, amazing art, and very.
I ain't gonna snipe the ad.
Launch on February 14th, then feel free to do so using the link down in the description. To climb the leaderboard,
they got a Goku version.
But now,
it could be
let's
for
get
you.
Back to the video. Episode 16. I Need to Stop Faking. Covering chapters 61 to 66 from the manhwa and chapters 75 to 82 from the novel. With Sung having just defeated Metis, he was now sitting pretty at level 77, on his way to floor 76 and farming demons worth 1700 XP apiece now. That was the minimum reward for demons he came across now, since a new superior type was becoming more and more frequent. They were demons Sung estimated to be as strong as Vulcan, formidable opponents that made
Damn! Wait, all the ads that it was coming across were the same as Vulcan?
Estimated to be as strong as Vulcan. Superior type was becoming more and more frequent. They were demons Sung estimated to be as strong as Vulcan, formidable opponents that made proceeding incredibly difficult. What caused him to truly become hard-stuck, though, wasn't the lack of food or the tough enemies around every corner, but rather the increasingly difficult terrain that made traversal near impossible. Last episode I mentioned how the higher the floor, the more destroyed the environment. Well, here in the 70s, everything was just a fiery hellscape. It was so hot that by
imagine like trying to just walk in, bro, and it's just like, it's hot. Like, why is it so hot? You literally just walked into hell.
floor 76, Sung would lose stamina just by standing still.
See? Damn.
The fatigue bar went up for every little movement now. This was no way to fight high-level demons, and it certainly wasn't the optimal way to clear the tower. So, in order to progress any further, Sung knew he needed to leave and come back with artifacts. Defensive items which would make these terrain effects negligible. This brings us to the real reason behind why he wants to get reassessed, because where in the anime it's shown to be out of a desire to continue leveling, in the novel and manhwa it's simply because
like Batman.
he needs these artifacts. He can't purchase or sell them without raising suspicion as an E rank, and that in turn means he can't clear the dungeon.
So, why is he not using the items that he's getting from the system? Wouldn't those items be a lot better for him to use? Or are the drops, or he's got like better items in the real world, bro? I don't know. I'm so confused. Like, he's got two stores. He's got a store in the system and the store in the real world. But I would just assume that the store in the system is way better. And now he wants to get all the best stuff that he can get from the real world. Real world. Because I always assume that this is the hardest dungeon in all of solo leveling that we have come across this far. You know what I mean? It's like all the other guilds in the real world, they don't even know anything about this at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of this is like SS rank, and he's just on SS times 3.
That then prevents the elixir of life from being crafted, and that in turn makes it so his mom can't be saved. All this stems from him still being in E rank, so if he wanted to achieve any of it, he first needed to get re-evaluated. Such was the conclusion Sung had come to here. Now, there was a small difference in the way.
Okay, collect demon souls. When the demon castle is swarming with demons, you will receive a special award for defeating the demons and collecting their souls. Quest requirements: collect 10,000 demon souls. Okay, we remember that.
Was revealed since we're in the anime, Sung knows he's working towards the elixir of life from the beginning. In the novel and manhwa, the recipe is only given to him after the quest is done. It's the undisclosed reward we saw last episode. The part of the blessed random box signifying his desire. I had totally forgot about this myself, but you gotta remember this whole dungeon was from a box telling him it'd give him what he desired. That just so happened to be the elixir of life, so as I'm sure you can guess, Sung's deepest desire is him wanting to bring his mom back. What then will the cursed box give? Well, I guess that's for the system to decide.
His deepest desire, and for the curse, his darkest hatred. What would that be? Cursed random loot box. It's an item they need. Maybe it's something. See, I've not read the manhwa, so I'm gonna guess like this cursed box is probably a way for him to maybe travel to an area where he can get the strongest summon, but it comes at a cost. I don't know.
Whatever it thinks he needs is what he'll get. This was actually the reward he chose instead of a shop item because Sung figured he could always just get items from the dungeon. Plus, with the shop constantly updating with better items every day, there was a good chance he'd just end up selling whatever shop item he chose. Instead, he figured it was best to gamble on something with a bit more longevity. His final reward was the plus 20 in stats, and all that went into intelligence. It brought his status to this now. Enough to make him feel confident against just about anyone, so that was part of why hiding his powers weren't a necessity anymore. The only thing he needed to confirm before his reevaluation was whether Jinho was able to succeed or not. So one quick phone call revealed negotiations went well, and that was all Sung needed to hear before heading to the association. It was at the assessment office that Sung would be looked down as a delusional E rank because time and time again, an upset low rank would come in looking for a second chance. The chief believed this to be just another of those cases, so he urged the clerk to push Sung forward as fast as possible. To him, low-rank hunters like this were people you just couldn't reason with. No, it was far easier to just have them pay the fee and face reality themselves.
Oops.
This particular
My
case
bad.
had caught the chief's attention, though, because some
Go
rank
back.
hunters like this were people you just couldn't reason with. No, it was far easier to just have them pay the fee and face reality themselves. This particular case had caught the chief's attention, though, because something about Sung's name seemed familiar. That's when he remembered Beck specifically asked to be notified if he ever showed up, leading to an immediate phone call straight to his office. Beck would then request to know Sung's rank as soon as it was taken, resulting in the chief having to witness the reevaluation himself. He personally didn't think anything of it though, because when a similar scenario happened about 3 months ago, that turned out to be a big fat nothing burger. It was a false alarm just like most of the other reawakenings.
And that's why I don't understand, like, okay. I think this, like, whenever he got that reading, when he got a little minor reevaluation right there, that's because he had just gotten out of the dungeon, right? He was at 0. Like, his solo leveling had just begun. So, of course, he was reading nothing because he hadn't worked for anything, right?
The only reason the chief decided to check up on this one then was mainly to humor Beck and the relationship he had with him.
Okay.
I mean, it was after all quite profitable to be a guild informant. Now, it was during the time that Sung was waiting that the anxiety of the people around him would make him nostalgic. He couldn't help but smile as he remembered the way his own mind raced during this process. He had first imagined all the possibilities with his own rank, then extended that curiosity to the ranks of the people around him. Such was the natural mindset for those getting evaluated, and it was being exemplified again by the people around him. The only difference between now and 5 years ago was the presence of a whole bunch of recruiters. These weren't the recruiters you'd find from the Hunter or White Tiger Guild though, but rather a more parasitic bunch working for the small to mid-level guilds. They were a more desperate type seeking just about anyone. Why, might you ask, would that be? Well, because smaller guilds don't get a lot of applicants, it was only natural that they take the initiative themselves. The big guilds typically weren't very interested in low-rank recruits, so that left a whole bunch of hunters fresh for the picking right out of evaluation.
And that sucks too. It's just like coming into being recruited by other schools, you know what I'm saying? Like for colleges and the NFL, they're not looking at the whole field of players that are there. They're only there to look at some specific people that they know, and they got a clipboard and a list. It's like, we ain't worried about all these other small fry. We're looking at like the best candidates, these D1 athletes that are on here. F everybody else, unfortunately. So it's like, if you ain't got nothing going for you, you ain't gonna stand out. Just the way shit is.
Now, the reason I call them parasitic is because recruiters like these feed off the fact a lot of these low-level hunters are desperate. They know they can easily sway them with an attractive offer, but what they conveniently leave behind is that they're recruiting them for certain death.
Ooh.
What I mean is that with every small guild wanting to become bigger, they'll often try to clear gates stronger than they can handle. That in turn leads to lots of accidents, and that translates into a high mortality rate. So, with a high mortality rate leading to lots of vacancies, recruiting new hunters became doubly important for these guilds. It's the core reason behind why their recruiters are always present here. Time would then pass as multiple hunters went in and out, and for each that exited with a dejected look, every recruiter would avoid them like the plague. It seems as desperate as they were, none wanted anything to do with E ranks. This is why rank is so important, because not only was it the determination of how powerful you were, it also clearly defined how much money you could make.
Yup.
The C rank was the level at which good money could start to be made, because that's the threshold where options started to open up for you. You could either make money by acting
Like right now, bro, I'm like a E rank streamer. Unfortunately, right?
as a freelancer or join a guild and be in a more secure position. Either way, the salary of a C
But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the small stuff.
ranker was typically equivalent to that of a doctor or lawyer, plus the massive signing bonus they got if they joined a guild. So, this was the rank the nervous guy was hoping for, while the confident one actually came out with an E rank. This led the nervous guy to let Sung go first, bringing us to the whole evaluation process. It's here that once again Sung would be looked down on as a delusional E rank, but since the money was paid, the tester would proceed with the evaluation anyway.
Dude, like, I just can't stop thinking about that. In terms of real life, solo leveling, okay? Streaming. Nah, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. But let's be real. Let's be real, dog. I am not a C rank. I'm not a C rank streamer, okay? If I was a C rank streamer, I would at least be pulling like double digits, okay? And so if we're looking at it, right? E rank is gonna be like 10 viewers and below. D rank like somewhere between 99, right? And then C rank streamer, you're pulling hundreds, okay? And then B rank 1,000, and then A rank but like below 10,000, and then you got the Kai Sinats, the XQCs, the Plaque Boy Maxes, Rages, Duke, like AMP, bro, like them. The ones that rack in 10K more or more. Those are like S rank streamers right there. Like for real. Them S rank. So currently, yeah, I'm sitting at E, okay? I think there was only one time. There's only one time I pulled like, wait, you know what? You might be onto something here. You might be on something here, Gabby. Though there's one time I had pulled 33. I think I pulled like 35 people in one stream at one point. Like 30 something people. That would have put me at D. You know what I'm saying?
The chief would then enter right as the machine was bugging out, confirming the first S rank since Cha's evaluation 2 years ago. It's here he would then explain how the S rank isn't an actual ranking, but rather a special grouping for those who can't be measured. So, there's no actual indication for how strong the S rank hunters are in comparison to each other because the levels at which they're measured aren't
I forgot to mention Aiden Ross. My bad.
the only way to know
And speed.
for sure is for them.
I show speed.
Now, it was while all this was going on that Choi would be with Wu, discussing both the Redgate incident and the ant mutations. He was basically asking if Huang Dongsu was the mystery person, then wanted to know how the investigation of the ant in Japan was going. The former was denied since Wu was there personally, then if the latter did in fact prove ants could fly to other countries, A draft would be instated forcing hunters to fight against them. It didn't matter what guild they were from, every hunter deemed necessary would be ordered to fight them. It was a mandatory enlistment Choi had no problem getting behind. Shortly after, Choi would hear all the commotion, not because the building was close, but rather because he had a special sensitivity for these types of things. In fact, despite Woo not being able to hear a thing, Choi could hear everything clear as day. He knew pretty much instantly that an S rank had been evaluated. It was back in the lobby that every recruiter would be too stunned to move, since this was a level they'd never dealt with before. Like, if he was ranked C, then they would have just formed a line to talk to him. If he was ranked B, then everyone would be yelling attractive offers and guaranteeing him high-ranking spots right from the get-go. It was a chaotic method that actually worked more times than you might think, mainly because many people preferred to
See that?
snake over the tail of the dragon. That chaos then settled down if the hunter was an A rank, because the A rank was where the large guilds got involved. Special privileges were given which the small and medium guilds couldn't even offer.
Solo leveling, I'm telling you, dude, this could be applied to streamers so good. So good. Look at that.
Things like a guaranteed position in the main strike force and lots of financial rewards to go along with it. There was also always the option to start your own guild, because when you're at the A rank, you're powerful enough to attract other hunters to you. Not so many as to create a large guild, but certainly enough to establish a smaller medium one. So, what happens then when an S rank is unveiled? Well, none of the recruiters would even try and talk to him. That is, unless they tried to act as his agent. Reason being that they knew recruiting him themselves would be impossible, but perhaps if they got into his good books, maybe they could be the one to send Sung on his way to one of the larger guilds. There was quite a bit of money to be made in being an S-rank's agent too. So, the success of that quickly diminished any thoughts of the ridicule of failure, since one was momentary while the other lasted forever. It was right as the recruiters were about to make their move, though, that Choi would walk in, stopping all of that. It was an entrance that Sung was actually very grateful for, since it pretty much removed all the pressure on him instantly.
I don't like him, bro. I still don't like him, bro. And I don't want someone to... If you do know of this guy, you start liking him more, let me know. Does he become a better character? Don't spoil nothing, but just let me know if this dude, like, gets his head out of his ass. Because he's just...
Choi would then be so focused on making the Hunters Guild the strongest in the world that he didn't even consider the possibility of Sung saying no. You see, the moment Sung mentioned how he hadn't chosen a guild yet, Choi had already started imagining his status as a global superpower. That was how much power a guild with 3 S ranks had. In the end, Sung would disregard Choi just like how we saw in the anime.
Yeah, dude, I love Jinwoo for that. Because you want to know what? Luffy would have done the exact same thing. I'm telling you, Luffy don't give a fuck about nobody else's status. He wants it for himself. Like, you aren't necessary unless you're gonna be under his crew, right? And he's like, in his own world, just moving on.
Beck's timely arrival would indicate he knew about Sung before this, then the random hunter hoping for the C rank would come out revealing he got it. Moving on to the hospital now, Woo's first words to Sung were actually about the double dungeon. He wanted to know if Sung was the one who cleared it. This, I believe, is relatively important because at the end of the whole conversation with Chairman Go after this, Sung finally states that it wasn't him. It was a firm response that kept the mystery of the double dungeon open, something to keep in mind for both the reader and the association. This also confirmed Sung wasn't masquerading as a false ranker, since if he really did have the power he had now, both Go and Woo knew he wouldn't have let his comrades die like that. Woo would then ask Sung to meet the chairman, not as an order or a request to an association employee, but rather as a favor of great importance. It was an ask that clearly meant a lot to Woo, since accompanied with it was a deep bow Sung never would have expected from him. What went to intrigue Sung the most, though, was the fact Korea's strongest hunter was there to see him. Whatever the conversation was gonna be, Sung knew it would be more than just an attempt to recruit a powerful hunter to the association. Combine this with the fact Chairman Go wasn't someone anyone could just simply meet, and that made Sung more curious than you can imagine. To put into context,
Oh man, Garp.
he was, not only was he president of the country's most influential organization, he was also a member of the National Assembly and the country's first S rank on top of that. So, with political and financial giants across the globe begging to talk to him, passing this up wasn't something Sung believed he could afford. At least not yet anyway. It was before the two could meet though that there was first a cutscene where Chairman Go was talking to his doctor. It was a scene which not only emphasized Mr. Go's deteriorating health, but also his dire need to find a replacement.
Was that not... They didn't say that in the anime, did they? I don't remember that scene at all.
With the doctor calling it a miracle that he could even walk, the only advice he could give was for Go to take a break. This was unfortunately something he couldn't afford to do because the guilds around him were growing stronger by the day. They were practically as powerful as an entire country's military now. So, with him being the only thing keeping the association on even footing with these guilds, to step aside would mean to let the floodgates open. It would effectively allow the guilds to do whatever they want. There would be no authoritative figure under which they had to fear repercussions anymore. This is why Chairman Go can't retire, since he's essentially the monolith symbolizing health and power for the association. It was then that one phone call would reveal the potential to change that, leading to a meeting where finding a successor was actually the underlying purpose. At first he wasn't planning to do so, but after seeing the determination in the way Sung spoke, Go knew he was someone who could definitely be worthy of leading the association.
That is sick, dude. That is actually fucking insane. Like, unless I wasn't paying attention to the actual episode, or AniNews is actually explaining this very well, you know, or or just wasn't put in there. But the fact that he's looking for a successor and Jinwoo's gonna be the successor, the anime didn't want to lead on to that. That's sick, dude. If he becomes, bro, his aura and his ego, I hope doesn't just like go crazy for that fact of the matter. But dude, I would love to see him be the chairman. That'd be crazy. Not early on, like maybe like season 3, you know, halfway through, he decides they make him the successor. That'd be tight. That'd be tight.
Power too, so the only thing that remained to be seen was his character. So, as the conversation kicked off with what the association was offering, a good example was used to show the different lifestyle of association hunters. Like, where you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who even knew Wu's name. Had a person like Kim lived and become a member of the main strike force, he would be known as a celebrity everywhere. He would be more famous and make more money, despite very clearly being less powerful than Wu. Why then would Sung want to become a member of the association? Well, the core underlying reason was, as we saw, balance. Sung was well aware magic beasts weren't the only monsters out there, so he fully understood why such a balance was important to maintain. He knew losing it would mean risking control over powerful beings that couldn't be controlled. This wasn't what Sung was thinking about though, as what he was focused on instead was the successful path only Chairman Go could offer. Any large guild could provide fame and fortune, but only Mr. Go could have you sit at the National Assembly while also granting access to the government, association, and press. It was an incredible amount of influence that only he could provide. Now, the reason Sung's statement here resonated so deeply with Go was because fighting monsters was something he never got to do. By the time he had awakened as Korea's first S rank, he was already too old to fight in the dungeon. This forced him to look for other things to do, resulting in the creation of the Hunter Association. So, Go would use his fame to gather all sorts of...
Oh man, he never got his time to shine. Oh my god. He became a S rank after the fact? Yo, that is some BS timing, bro. Can you imagine you just laying in bed and then all of a sudden you just awaken at the age of 60 as an S rank? That is the universe just toying with you at that point.
Establish an association built around him, secure a spot within the National Assembly, then help create laws that kept hunters in check. For as much as Go had accomplished,
I feel bad for
he would
him.
always regret not being able to fight like how Sung so adamantly wants to. So, to hear such passion
Real, man.
so powerful Well, his weak heart now pumped faster than ever, despite the doctors saying it was ready to quit at any time.
I got a theory. Jinwoo is going to allow Chairman Go to have that experience. Jinwoo is going to find something, or hear me out. He's going to take the elixir of life. He's going to have to make a decision. He's going to give it to Chairman Go, because Chairman Go is going to need it rather than his mother. And I don't think his mother's going to die, but he'll find another way to save her. If I'm wrong, that's a good predict right there. That's a good predict. Is it not?
Chairman Go now felt as lively as ever. The rest of the conversation went pretty much as we saw, aside from some additional context that needs to be said about Go's drinking comment. There was an interesting saying that was lost in both the manhwa and anime.
Let's hear it.
It was after asking if Wu would join him for a drink that Go would mention how the cup size of a man's drink determined the extent of the world he could take. Add that to this scene here, and Go's fascination with Sung's ability to drink makes a lot more sense. He wanted to see how much of the world's
That's fire, ain't it? That's fire predict right there.
interesting bit of nuance, since it ties back to Sung's ability to drink infinitely. It's a clever nod I personally really like towards Sung's character. The novel then proceeds to rearrange some stuff I know we'll be getting next episode, but there was one scene we probably won't be getting for sure. It was the moment the Reapers Guild got news of a new S-rank themselves. The chief got word from his contact at the association, but when he called to find out more about who this new S-rank was, his contact not only informed him he'd just been fired, but also took full accountability for the wrong he'd committed. As it turns out, Chairman Go found out people were leaking information, then took it upon himself to fire those people personally. This was something he'd never done before, so the fact he was doing so now really got the Reaper Guildmaster thinking. He couldn't help but wonder if maybe the chairman had some sort of vendetta against him. I mean, why forbid the leak of Sung's identity now when the same measures weren't taken 2 years ago with Cha? Combine this with the fact Choi and Beck already have this information, and that really made it seem like things were working against him. The chairman had also facilitated Beck's departure from the Reapers Guild, so you could say Mr. Go single-handedly orchestrated the Reaper Guild's downfall. Where it was once the #1 guild in the entire country, it now struggled to keep up with the top 2. I'm gonna quickly switch things over to the scene with Hwang Dong-soo now because
Yeah, it's ass whooped. Oh my goodness, it is always good to see somebody get a humbling ass whooping.
while it was for the most part the same, there was good reason for the deputy chief asking the question that he did. The reason he wasn't fully convinced Il-hwan was a monster was because clear footage showed him saving people from the destruction. The chief had never heard or seen of monsters doing that, so he genuinely thought maybe Hwang was mistaken. Hwang then countered by asking if he'd ever heard of a human emerging from a gate, providing a fair enough argument for the chief to accept. He would then say nothing on where Il-hwan was going and instead focus solely on getting revenge himself. All he needed was a couple of artifacts, of which his guild had plenty. In fact, if they added up the value of all the artifacts the Scavenger Guild possessed, the total would easily surpass the annual budget of a small nation. So, suffice to say, Hwang was quite confident. This brings us to Sung's own perusal of artifacts, leading to that revelation artifacts were expensive. Like, even with 1.7 billion won saved up, that still wasn't enough to buy anything useful. This made it clear just how difficult it was for a hunter to thrive, since with good items ranging from the millions to billions, there was a good chance a hunter would spend their lifetime unable to purchase any on personal funds alone. So, with money needed now more than ever, Sung knew he would have to wait for his S rank. The thing is, his official reassessment was still 2 days away. There was a moment when Sung believed his refusal to join the association would make that longer, but Go's heartfelt smile was one Sung believed to be genuine. After 4 years of minding hunters and reading their expressions, he got pretty good at knowing exactly how other people really felt about him. Sung still wanted to do something in the meantime though, so searching the recruitment boards was the only thing he could do. It was as he did that he would notice a lot more opportunities available than ever before. As for why, Well, it turns out Sung's monopoly over C-rank gates had left a lot of people jobless.
Look at that dude. He had his f***ing hand in his pocket. Diabolical.
Why? Well,
Look
it
at him.
turns out Sung's monopoly over C-rank
Hand in the pocket. You know how disrespected you gotta be? He just got chopped in half. Part of his body is sitting on the 50-yard line, and then the other half is in the stands, and then your body gets to spin in the air, and you just see the man that did it with one hand and then the other one in his pocket. That is the last sight you get to see. Being that disrespected. You thought you could kill somebody. Y'all thought you could jump somebody, only to get your ass whooped, and he had one hand in his pocket. And he probably had one eye closed at the same time. Like, you gonna be in heaven or hell, wherever you go, thinking like, damn, why did I do that? This nigga had his hand in his pocket. Why did I decide to go? Egos will kill you, bro. Your ego will kill you.
C-rank gates had left a lot of people jobless. He had left freelancers without work for a week, and now it seemed like they were trying to clock in some overtime. C-rank gates had zero value to him now, though, so while it would have been nice to freelance in a B or A rank gate, you'd never find a makeshift squad trying to do those. If you did, you'd essentially be signing up to die. So that forced Sung
It is, man. It's crazy.
to his position as a miner. Now, rather than start that and stop halfway through, I think here's a good place to end the episode. Once again, there was an assortment of small cuts and big cuts, but overall I think the anime's still doing fine. Let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree, and if you liked the video, then leave a like. Be sure to subscribe to know when the next one comes out too. Until then though, ciao.